Hey there guys, it's me Super here, back with another video. And today I wanted to go through phase 4 and I wanted to rewrite it. So yeah, this phase will have a lot less project. I have limited it to the max being, for phase 4, I've limited it to the max each year being 2 movies, and 2 shows and 1 special. So yeah, and I've been changing a lot of projects. I've canceled a lot of projects. I've delayed a lot of projects, and yeah. So and I've added a lot of projects. So yeah. Anyway, let's just jump into it. So one of the things I want to do here is I wanted to still make the saga entirely multiverse themed. It's still a multiverse saga, and there are also multiverse projects in phase 4. But I wanted to make each phase have a theme. The third one being Avengers, but the first one, I'm not gonna spoil what the second one is, but the first one is Fantastic Four. So yeah. And I just dive into the first movie here. I'm starting off with the movie in 2021. It would be Captain America Legacy, as I would call it, and it would be a movie, and it would be a shortened down version of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, with Bucky being in a much less role. So it would basically be, I would cut a lot of things with Falcon and Winter Soldier because you would have to. Like, I would cut Zemo entirely, the Wakandans entirely, the whole side plot where they had to go, Sharon Carter entirely, the whole side plot where they had to go to, like, the X-Men country and go undercover, that would be cut too. The Power Broker would be teased, and it would not be Sharon Carter. Sharon Carter would not be in this movie. It would just be teased and that's how the Fox Slashers would get their powers. Also, I would change Carly Morgenthau to Carl Morgenthau, and Carl Morgenthau would have a superhero costume, well, the supervillain costume, I guess. It would be the comic book costume. He could still be the Flag Smashers, and they would still have their costumes from the show, but he would have his own particular costume. And yeah, also, Sam would not think that his death is tragic, but he would say that he made some good points. And John Walker's arc would be the exact same. I really like John Walker, and I really like Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But I thought that a movie would fit better as a trilogy. So yeah, and in the final battle, um, John Walker would come in instead of being Captain America, he would come in as an employee for the government. He would still be working for the government in the final battle, but for Val would still be operating with the government and stuff. So he would come in and he would be the U.S. agent instead of Captain America, and the goal would be to get the shield from Sam, because he technically stole it. The goal would be to get the shield from Sam, and he would be the Captain America again. But yeah. Anyways, but then the next one, which is the first show, is WandaVision, and I don't like WandaVision as a show, but I thought that it's very important for a movie that comes on, for movies that come later, and yeah. So yeah. There would be a lot of changes. Firstly, one of the big changes is that I would cut Agatha entirely from the show. The show would have a villain, but the villain would be Wanda. And I would also cut the sword guy. He would be cut. Also, Monica Rambeau just didn't really like. I didn't really like her too much. She was kind of a bland personality. It was just used to set up the Marvels, so she would be cut. And also the episode where they're exploring the past would be Doctor Strange, which was actually cut from. He was actually cut from the show, but then because they apparently didn't want a man to take Wanda's spotlight, which is bullshit. Also, we would not at all be sympathizing with Wanda in the end. She would be a clear villain, and she would run away. And yeah, but the episode where they explore the past, Doctor Strange would be doing it instead of Agatha, and Agatha would be a red herring just called Agnes. It would be a complete red herring. It wouldn't even, she would just, you would be meant to think it, but it wouldn't actually happen. And yeah, but yeah, also it would say that Wanda and Pietro, Dr. Strange would tell her this in the flashback episode. It would say that Wanda and Pietro were mutants. So yeah, and that's why they have their abilities. And then the Mind Stone just brought that to a head, with and just like brought it to a head with both of them. So yeah, the Mind Stone that it would be the Mind Stone unlock their gene, and that's why it would only work with them. And Hydra thought they're just enhanced, but they're actually mutants. But yeah, and they wouldn't say at the end this bullshit about how you had to how you should sympathize with Wanda, because and like Maria Rambeau saying like you like they have no idea what you gave up for them, when really at the end of the day she gave up imaginary children so they could have something that she held them for hostage for months. Like it's like bullshit. Like no, like she held them for hostage. She kidnapped them and held them held them as hostages for months. She like you could have she could have even done this like in a more. She could have just made up the other people, but no, she decided like she made a Vision, but no, she decided to take over a real town and make them go in a loop, make them stuck in their houses, and make them and kidnap all of them and hold them as hostages. Like that's crazy, and so that's why she would be portrayed as a villain here, and they would not say about how she gave up something. Instead, the government would monitor her in her cabin in like the forest because they didn't trust her. So yeah, there's the next movie, which is the next project, would be Spider-Man: No Way Home, and it would be moved up in the year. But yeah, this show would have. I mean, well, this movie would basically be the exact same as Spider-Man. No Way Home, except a couple changes. Firstly, I would change the final swing costume to a more comic accurate costume from like this kind of like the 60s ish. It's like the one that he has at the start of the PS4 game, like that one. I think is perfect before it gets like the white logo. I think that one's the best suit. It's just a personal preference, but yeah. Also, I would throw in Mysterio and say that he faked his death, so that he would fight with the rest of the Sinister Six, and they would call themselves the Sinister Six because just to make them actually the Sinister Six, and but then that would be Spider-Man. Also in the final swing sequence, it would not none of the movie would take place in the winter / Christmas time. It would be moved up in the year because this is still 2021. We moved up in the year to be, I don't know, probably in the summerish because it's a Spider-Man movie. So yeah, and in the final swing shot, it would not be over the Rockefeller Center. It would not be snowing out. It would not be Christmas themed because it was a cool sequence, but it doesn't really make sense in Hawkeye because that the finale takes place there. So yeah. And the next movie in this would be Fantastic Four, and it would set them up. And it would take place in the 60s, and it would have them as. It would take place in the 60s, and it would have them as celebrities, sort of like Beatles-ish, and it would take place in the main. Also, another thing, this would be. The Multiverse Saga would establish it to be 199999 and not the 616. Because but in the MCU they would always be there, and it would show the main villain of the movie would be Doctor Doom, and he wouldn't be killed. Instead, he would be held in the negative zone because that's how they go to it. The quantum realm would be the same thing as the negative zone. They just the Fantastic Four would call it the negative zone, and that's how they got their powers. They travel to the quantum realm, and there would be other characters like there would be a flashback to how they got their powers, in which they would fight Mole Man as like their first villain, and it would take place 2 years in, and it would actually be probably called Fantastic Four First Steps, because I like that title. Also, the cast would be John Krasinski as Reed Richards, Emily Blunt as Sue Storm, the guy from Stranger Things, not Eddie, the guy from Stranger Things, I think his name is Billy as Johnny, and then Evan Moss Backrack could still be the thing. Because yeah, that'll be the cast, and they would fight Doctor Doom as the main villain, but they would all get trapped in the negative zone at the end. And there would be other characters like the Wizard as like throwaway characters. The Wizard, Red Ghost, a couple of smaller like scale Fantastic Four villains like that, and Namor would be featured in the movie as like kind of like a cameo because I think he was originally introduced. He may have not been though actually, but he was in a Fantastic Four comic. I think he was in like the third issue or something. So yeah, but yeah, that would be when he was introduced, and yeah. The next project would be a show would be Hawkeye. It would still take place around Christmas time, but yeah, it would still come out around Christmas time. But yeah, it would be the introduction. Also, I just want to add this. All the Netflix shows would be canon from the start. So yeah, it would still be the introduction of Fisk. But he would have some deleted scenes that were cut from the show, and yeah, he would still be in the final episode and stuff. But Hawkeye would get the more original comic accurate costume, like with the mask and like yeah, instead of the newer comic accurate costume. I still like that suit, but still this is better. And yeah, also Swordsman would end up being a villain in the end, and he would have to fight him, and he would be seen as a collector of a bunch of swords, and he would have his comic book costume, and Clint would have to fight him in the end. So yeah. Also, Yelena will be cut from the show. I really like Yelena, but it doesn't really make sense. And I really like her dynamic with Kate, but it doesn't really make sense because Black Widow has been delayed. So yeah. Anyways, then the next one in 2022, Phase 4 would start off with Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. This one could basically be the same movie. There were a couple changes, like Mandarin would have a more comic accurate suit. The ending, the post-credit scene type stuff, would instead have Shang-Chi fully being recruited by the Avengers, and he would be recruited by Sam Wilson's Captain America instead of like Wong and Bruce Banner and Captain Marvel just being there. But yeah, he would be recruited for the Avengers because they're trying to restart the Avengers. And yeah, it would basically be just the same movie. And yeah, but except for the changes. The next one would be She-Hulk, and I would cut the Attorney at Law sub like title because I just don't like it. But yeah, it would still be called She-Hulk, and yeah, it would be. I would make a lot of changes. First off, it would have no social commentary at all. Jen would be a lot more likable. She would not rage at Bruce, and she would not say that she's had a harder life for him than him, and and yeah, and then it would not be as cringe. Titanium would have a comic accurate suit. Intelligentsia would be completely cut. Todd, that character would be completely cut. The Wrecking Crew would be cut because I think they're cool villains who could be used later. And yeah, and instead of Emil Blonsky would not be featured in the show at all. Instead, it would be instead it would be Justin Hammer. So who she has to defend. That's who would be featured in the role of Emil Blonsky instead. And then yeah, he would be played by Sam Rockwell still. And then yeah, that would be the character. And yeah, the main villain will be Titania, and the leader would be set up, and that's who was trying to get the blood of She-Hulk. And then yeah, and also Daredevil would not be in the finale episode because it's really creepy and really kidnappy for Jen to ask Kevin, the robot machine, to bring back Daredevil to where she lives, because that's kidnapping him. That's literally kidnapping. So yeah, I don't like that. And Daredevil could still be in the yellow suit, but it would be much more vibrant yellow, much more vibrant red, and he would have the D, his logo on his chest, and then yeah, and that would be the show. All the changes I would make. But yeah, then also there would be no dating like subplot and stuff. I don't really like that. So yeah, and but the next thing would be Black Widow, and Black Widow would be. I really like I like the movie Black Widow, but it would be very changed here. It would still take place back then. They would still have it would still have a bunch of. It would still have mostly the same characters, but the mom character would be cut, and Red Guardian, which could still be played by David Harbour, but instead here he would be an ex-boyfriend of her that he knew, and there would be no dad character or no mom character, and yeah, and over the course of the movie, Yelena and the Red Guardian would grow a friendship. Red Guardian could basically be the same character though, otherwise, but yeah, and he would be an ex-boyfriend like he is in the comics. So yeah. And then yeah, basically the movie could be the same, but Taskmaster would be different, and it would be a man named Anthony Macker, and no, Anthony Masters, but yeah, that would be the Taskmaster would be, and then yeah, that would basically be the movie. Anyways, the next project would be a show, would be Daredevil Born Again, and I don't know how Daredevil Born Again is, but so I haven't seen this. Daredevil Born Again hasn't came out yet, so I haven't seen it. So I have just created more of a plot by myself. Muse would not be in it because I don't know how Daredevil Born Again is. So yeah, instead Bullseye would be the main villain. He would have his suit. He would have the Daredevil suit, but he would spray paint it and he would file off the horns, the original suit, and yeah, he would be Dex, and he would fight, and he would go after and ruin. He would try to ruin the lives of Fisk and Daredevil, but he would still have Fisk would still have to work with Daredevil like in Daredevil Born Again, and the Punisher could still be there, and Falcon and Karen would not die, which they might in Daredevil Born Again. Hopefully they don't, but they wouldn't die here definitely. And he would have a brighter red suit with the logo on his chest, and yeah. And basically, yeah, that would be the show. Also, there would be a cameo from Luke Cage and Jessica Jones in the final episode, which they might have in the show, but I don't know. So yeah. Anyways, the next project, which would be a movie, is Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. It will basically just be the same movie. The only difference would be instead of the Illuminati, I would make it another universe's Avengers. And yeah, I'll make it another universe's Avengers, and they would it would be a lineup of Tom Cruise's Iron Man, John Krasinski's Captain America, Tom Hiddleston's Thor, Jake Gyllenhaal's Spider-Man, Emily Blunt as Black Widow, and then yeah, and Wanda would still kill them, but those would be the same characters, because those are all people who were up for the roles of the characters. I'm pretty sure, but never got them. So yeah, or due to scheduling conflicts, they couldn't play them and stuff like that. So yeah, that would be the Avengers of the Ultimate Universe, and Doctor Strange could still have died in their universe, and Mortar I guess would be a part of it too. But however, Mortar, whatever. I might be saying the name wrong, but yeah, the character was set up at the end of the first movie. He would kill. Yeah, he would be killed by Wanda in the start of the movie, which was supposed to happen. So yeah, but then they cut it, and he would still have his head as the apple cartons, which was also supposed to happen, but that was cut too. And yeah, and as a final project of 2022 would be the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, and it would come out around Christmas. It could be I'm pretty sure it could be the exact same thing, because I do really like it. It's a fun other project, like Elseworld type thing. Well, it's not Elseworld, but you know what I mean. Like, it doesn't really connect to anything, and you would still get revealed that Mantis is Peter Quill's sister, which would connect into Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And yeah, I really do like this special. It's fun, and yeah, there's no reason not to include it. So yeah. And then it would be 2023, and it would start this year would start with War Machine, which would be a movie, and it would be like Armor Wars, and it would be called War Machine Armor Wars, and yeah, in this movie, Justin Hammer could be featured, but he would not be a villain. He would instead be a good guy trying to do his best, and yeah, the main villain could be Obadiah Stane's son, from the first Iron Man, and it would have Titanium Man and Stingray as side villains who Rhodey would fight but ultimately defeat them. And then yeah, and the next movie, which would be in this also 2023 is the last year for Phase 4. The next movie, which would be is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and this movie could be the exact same. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it could be the exact same. Yeah, I really did like this movie. It was a great movie, and yeah, everything about this movie could stay the same. So yeah, the next project in this universe would be a show. It would be Moon Knight, and Moon Knight could it would be the same. It would be like the exact same, but yeah, as the actual show Moon Knight. It might be a little bit smaller scale, but still, I don't really know much about the Moon Knight character and stuff, but it could be the same. And then the next movie would be the culmination of all this stuff, which would be Avengers Secret Invasion. And this movie would have the Avengers lineup of Captain America, Sam Wilson, War Machine, Rhodey, Spider-Man, and by the way, Spider-Man, Captain America, Sam Wilson, and Shang-Chi would be the new Trinity for the MCU. But yeah, so Rhodey would also be a part of it, and Ant-Man and the Wasp would be a part of it. And so would actually no, that's a lineup for the Avengers, because I wanted to bring it down to a smaller scale, basically like a Justice League Unlimited to just a normal Justice League situation. And all that's DC, but it's like it's basically like that. So it's smaller scale movie, and then yeah, but it would still include Secret Invasion, and I wouldn't have anybody be like a Skrull from the start, because yeah, I don't really like it when they do that. But Rhodey would be a Skrull for like a couple months ish, because he would be a Skrull. He would become a Skrull after his own movie, and then yeah, and yeah, it would be different than the show. There would be no like, the Super Skrull would be the main villain in the movie, and early on in the movie, the Avengers would come across all this stuff, and they would fight the Super Skrull. But the Super Skrull would have powers of 4 heroes that they don't know about. And then they find out, they remember, and it's like, yeah, those are the Fantastic Four. And then Scott or Hope, either or, could bring it up somehow when they're just normally, and they would lose against the Super Skrull. And then yeah, they wouldn't have because they wouldn't have the power to defeat him altogether. But he would have the powers of the Fantastic Four, and while talking with Janet, Hope or Scott would find out that those powers belonged to the Fantastic Four, which were all 60s heroes who went into the quantum realm / negative zone. So then they had to travel to the quantum realm to get them to fight, and Janet would have known the 4 of them. So yeah, So they'd either travel to the quantum realm / negative zone to get them into fight Super Skrull, and they would support the Avengers. They would find out who that Rhodey was a Skrull, and they would bring back the real Rhodey, and then yeah, that would be the movie, and yeah, and then as an epilogue, the last thing in this universe would be Werewolf by Night, which would be a special. It could be the exact same as the real Werewolf by Night, because I do think that was really good. And yeah, so yeah, it would still come out around Halloween, and then yeah, the Avengers movie would probably come out around summer-ish time, because yeah, and then that would be the phase that would be phase 4, and I do have plans to do a phase 5, but yeah, I don't have that done yet. But yeah, anyways, that was my video. Thanks for watching, and bye.